Nellie is dealing with depression and suicidal ideation that is embodied differently. We'll get into it. But that like enters her. And then she is forced to deal with what Nellie was dealing with, which is just this nothingness. She can't feel anything. She can't sense anything. Like there's no life in life. There's just this darkness.
This absolute despair.
All right. Happy Halloween. We've made it. It is today.
It is the day, which is weird because it's not for us.
What's not for us?
It's not really Halloween.
It's not. No. You've given us away.
But this is like the first time I think I felt this experience of being on YouTube where you do something for an event long before it happens, so that way the video can release for the audience. So to me, it doesn't feel like Halloween at all.
No.
So I'm ruining the mood for you all right now.
But way to go. Just destroyed it.
Not unlike the show we're going to review.
Not unlike the show. Yeah. Emotional gut punch. Welcome to the HolmFront. I am Tyler, your host. Happy Halloween. To my right, as always, is my overly artistic friend, and I'm going to retake. I'm going to go back. Welcome to the HolmFront, where we keep everything objectively subjective. I'm going to get that someday.
Someday.
It'll work. But, okay, so we have been steadily going through Mike Flanagan's work. We did Bly Manor. We did House of Usher. Fall of the House of Usher, and I hate that title. It's so long.
Oh, I thought that's what you just said.
It's
House of Usher.
Yeah, House Usher.
Oh, he's just adopted
Usher
the title
House.
that he wants for
Usher
it.
House.
Own it.
So now we're gonna go to what started this whole thing, going to The Haunting of Hill House, which is the first show he did. Not the first show he did on Netflix, but the first show he did in this, like, I guess, anthology that he's doing. And it also happens to be one of our favorite shows, which,
as well as one of the best TV shows ever made.
Yeah, I gotta say it's best of Netflix, if nothing else. So we'll.
There's some challengers.
I think that there's some contenders, but this one is like in the horror realm. This is it.
Yeah, so it's a really fitting choice, and like I really mean that. Like this show is just perfect in every way, pretty much. I have like one or two very small qualms with it, which we'll talk about later, but just on the whole, going through it again. You know, I have to say I kind of hate you now because it was just emotionally devastating.
It's
all over again. It was just as bad the second time as it was the first time. Because that's the thing about it is it's not like, oh, it's the best because it's scary. It's the best because it's so heartbreaking.
It's a lot of depth. There's a lot of bits that give you gut punches. So it's just kind of the whole show. You're just like, oh my gosh. Can someone smile, please? But the other two shows have been like that too, just in different ways. Like Bly Manor had kind of one storyline that was like real heavy.
Yeah.
Then Usher was just debaucherous. And then this one is just sad.
Pretty much.
Just like, I don't know who to connect to because I don't want to sympathize at all any of these people. This is just really heartbreaking. So this is based on a Shirley Jackson novel of the same name, The Haunting of Hill House, which I did read, except for the last chapter, but there's only so much
How'd you
I can
like
do.
it?
It was great. It's a good book, actually. It's really, really good book. It is like a classical ghost story novel. And we'll get into the comparisons as we go on a little bit. But I will say that when you watch the show, there's 7 of the original family. But in the book, they're not related at all. And there's only 4.
Oh, weird.
And one of them barely shows up in the show. It's Dr. Montague, Luke, Theo, Eleanor. And then Dr. Montague has a wife that shows up later in to the house. But that's it. So Dr. Montague is a therapist that sees Nellie in the show. But let's get into the show real quick so we can kind of break this down. So you want to give the synopsis of this show? Usually I do, but I think I'll just throw it your ways.
Fine, make me suffer. Why not?
You haven't suffered enough.
I know, for real. Okay, so the premise of the show is that about a family of 7 attempts to renovate an old house only to discover it's haunted, and subsequently brings tragedy upon the family. Years later, the children grow up and develop their own vices in order to cope with the untimely and confusing death of their mother. There's way more to it than that, but that's about the simplest premise I could come up with to give you all.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the book is very different.
There are themes that are parallel, yes.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, it's a lot of creative liberty. So the book's themes that they share with the film, so I guess what the show gets right, is just this kind of like mixture of what's real, what's not, what's paranormal, what's psychological, and how people perceive these realities and how they cope with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, ghosts have a long history of impact on, we as a race, but in a literary form.
Yeah.
They serve as a lot of different devices. And so this show, I think, embodies a lot of what the book was trying to do with the paranormal.
Oh, I
So
see.
in those instances, like Mike Flanagan, the writer and director of the show, does a really good job of making sure that that logos comes through.
I see.
So of all the things that like he changes, he keeps the essence of the story, which I thought was really great.
Okay.
So you went through the MFA program, and I was thinking that you could probably pull on a little bit of that knowledge for like giving kind of a structure, I guess, for ghosts and what they can be.
Yeah.
Or maybe even your own interpretation as, you've learned.
Yeah, I don't know that I took a deep dive into ghosts, but that's something I would like to do. I mean, the thing with ghosts is that, or I guess before I get into that, the thing that's interesting about Hell House specifically is that this is written by Shirley Jackson, and she is like, this is the original haunted house story, as far as I know. So there's like, oh yeah, haunted house is just this predictable thing. But when she wrote this novel, that wasn't a thing. There was no haunted house trope, and this started that. And so I feel like it's significant in that respect, but also because Shirley Jackson as a writer is just very well respected in academic circles, which is extremely rare because if you write horror or really just anything that's not, some kind of contemporary setting piece, then you're just like immediately dismissed. Like if there's any kind of genre work going on, that's it for you. It doesn't matter how deep or thoughtful your story is. So there's like some rare exceptions to that, but I think it's easy to forget that the populace, like the mass public, like they love Lord of the Rings, right?
Right.
And Lord of the Rings has some levels of respect because Tolkien is such a force of nature. But Shirley Jackson is kind of like that, but for horror, basically, right? I don't think her body of work is quite as expansive as his, because his is like the mind of an obsessed person, basically.
But if I'm not mistaken, this is like early 1900s kind of a thing, right? They have cars and such in the book, but it's very like, I don't know, probably early 1900s.
Yeah, I forget the era. I wanted to say 50s, but I think that might be a little late.
I should have looked up the year of the book, but
yeah,
it seemed very classical. Like it was clearly from a different era, which probably was another uphill battle for her, female author in horror at that time.
Yeah. Well, and I find that also interesting too, because like it just makes me wonder, like, what about her writing as opposed to other genre writers got a pass? Not that like she doesn't deserve it, but just that there's so many others that would fit a similar criteria as her, I feel. And so that's the part that kind of
maybe it was the concept
a little bit.
The like haunted house concept that just kind of resonated with people. Because there's something about a home, and whether or not someone else has been in it. That's one thing that the show did that I really liked, is they kind of encapsulated what resonates with people on the haunted house kind of narrative. And that was the fact that a house is kind of like a person almost.
Yeah.
It's like something that has life in it. You introduce the life. So when you come in, it's this thing that has a structure. It's like the bone, and then it has like a character and an outward like aesthetic. And so it kind of has its own character. It has its own, I don't know.
Does she talk about the house as being like a body in the book? Because they do that in the show quite a bit.
Not in that specific term, no.
Okay.
So I think that was probably Flanagan taking the creative liberties to try and like encapsulate it, because she wasn't trying to break apart her own piece, which was haunted houses in general. Mike Flanagan has so much more source material that I'm sure he's well read on to be able to insert all this stuff from the original and then up to whatever that was I think it's 2016 is the show. So he has years worth of stuff to pull on in order to use that narrative to try and explain haunted houses and ghosts in general and what they do or what they are for people.
Yeah, I guess that's what makes ghosts interesting, isn't it? It's the fact that they're real, whereas all these other monsters or not. And I don't mean like, oh, ghosts just wander around our world. What I mean is that there's too many instances where people claim to have encounters or experiences of something indiscernible. But nobody says like, well, yeah, I stayed at this hotel one time and I was really freaked out and I think there was a zombie walking around the halls. Like no one says that. No one's like, I think the guy who lived above me in my apartment in college, I think he was a vampire. Like, no one says that.
Except the guy that lived next to Dahmer, but that's different.
Well, he would have been more of a zombie. No,
it's close enough.
Yeah. So, but ghosts routinely come back in. I guess aliens too, to some extent. There's a few like weird stories about them as well, but that's I don't know. It's that
doesn't seem as regularly shared an experience as ghosts are.
Yeah, because ghosts seems like something that you could feasibly encounter just in a very ordinary setting. And like what the film describes, this is kind of the ending, but I don't think it's a spoiler at all. It says that a ghost is just kind of like it's a secret, it's a memory, it's or potentially like a wish. So a ghost is like something that you are projecting kind of into the world as it describes. I kind of think that they're just soul fossils, to be honest with you.
Soul fossils, is that the term?
Well, yeah, because because the idea is that when you die, your soul is fossilized if it's not content when it's passing on. So then it leaves like a residue.
Okay.
Because that's the thing is like a fossil is like a strange thing in and of itself. Like I remember learning about what a fossil actually was and I was like, this is stupid. Because I thought a fossil was like a corpse that had been preserved in some way. But that's not what it is. It's just like the imprint of it.
Oh, I see.
In the rock or whatever. Gotcha. So it's not actually it. It's just like something was there, but it's not anymore.
But it looks like it was.
Kinda. But it looks like... Sorry, that's my interpretation.
A soul fossil. That's what a ghost is. Okay. So it's just whatever supernatural part of us is left behind when we die.
Yeah.
When we no longer inhabit the body that we're in.
Yeah. If you get fossilized. Because, like when you... Just like when other
some
things
of us
die,
aren't important enough and we leave nothing.
Well, it's not about that. It's just like when some things die, they get fossilized, but sometimes they don't. There's no like... it's the conditions. The conditions have to be right for you to become a fossil.
So you think that the amount of secrets that person was hiding would lend to more possibility of being left behind?
As a fossil, yes.
Okay. And a house is a perfect place to do that, to fossilize one's soul.
Well, yeah, because the houses contain all those memories.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right. Soul fossils.
Sorry, I've gotten us on Robert. Would you like to talk about the show now?
Well, I think it was an important structure to like understand ghosts because this show deals a lot with it. And obviously it's called The Haunting of Hill House, but it's not just about like the soul fossils, which is now what we're going to call them. Not just about the soul fossils, but it's about the ghosts that people create for themselves. And that's, I guess, what we'll jump into the characters of the show because they deal with their own. And I guess we can classify those as more like demons. They have their own demons to deal with. But they also have the external soul fossils that are also following them around. So like they have their unfinished business and they just
to be fair, in the realm of the show, I don't think they're soul fossils. I think they're like actual ghosts. As in like someone dies and they become a ghost. And so it's their spirit that's there haunting the place like you traditionally think. The soul fossil is my original idea. Don't steal it.
You heard it here first. Trademarked. I'm reading a novel and it's talking about ghosts and the main character is the one that died in the previous novel and so he comes back as a ghost and he goes into this guy who's like a medium, I guess.
Okay.
He's just a magician that is able to speak to those on the other side, I guess. But the way that they describe ghosts is that it's not you that's left behind. It's an imprint of you that is just the part that has unfinished business. So it's whatever locks you into Earth, whether that be a secret, whether that be something that you haven't handled yet, whatever that is. But that part of you is what stays. That's not you. It's just like almost a clone with that motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, so it's something that ties you down. or ties that part of
I
you
see.
down, and the rest of you goes.
Yeah.
For this show, it kind of deals with both, I suppose. But yes, it does have like the ghosts. It's anyone who has died in the house for whatever purpose. Smiling over there. What is it?
Continue.
Okay.
I'm just in my own little thought land.
I can tell. Are you just thinking about your soul fossils and how you've given that out to the world?
Well, it's just interesting to me how much you like that or responded to it. Yeah. Sorry.
It was entertaining.
Let's
Yes.
try to talk about the show now.
I am talking about the show.
But to be fair, it's very difficult because the show, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. It's very layered. So on one hand, he's got all the source material of the book. And then he's got all the creative liberties that he's trying to take for whatever reason. I'm not actually sure. I couldn't figure that out. But I'm assuming, like I said, it's probably from other source material that he has that he just pulls from a well of and he just inserts it in. But there's a couple of characters that aren't in the book. It's not modern day. And they deal with a lot more than just the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about the characters. So it's almost like he removes the people from the house, but he ties them to the house. So they're all tethered.
Oh,
even though they're in the world.
Hmm.
So that's my best guess. My other best guess is that he had to extend this into an interesting series of 10 episodes.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do in a single house with that long of a show. I mean, there's plenty you can, I suppose, but he probably wanted a little bit more liberty in order to expand on these themes that ghosts can, I don't know, personify.
He seems to do that a lot. I guess what's surprising about this one in comparison with Bly Manor and House of Usher is that neither the turn of the screw nor the story, The Fall of the House of Usher, really seem to warrant a full-length TV show.
No.
So they have to use other materials and then make up crap to finish it out. With this one, it seems like,
novel.
You've got a novel. I would think that would be enough, but... And I mean, I'd still like to read the novel at some point, but, I will just say, like, it is a great show, and for what it's worth, like, the ideas come through excellently. So I guess it was worthwhile. Because, I mean, the thing about it is this one's all about, like, collective trauma. Yeah, it's like the 4 siblings who have to...
5.
Well, 5. But you find out from episode 1.
I know.
So, you've got, like, the 5 of them who have to kind of reconcile what's happened in the past. But really what you come to find out by the end is it's not so much the past, but really themselves. And so, like, their projections.
What they've pulled from the past and held on to, I suppose.
Yeah.
That it bleeds through, and that it basically is their own ghost, what haunts them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good...
So as the house is haunted, so are those that have left the house, but by themselves. So let's start with the main, or not the main character, but the first character.
Okay.
Because in the book, the main character is Nellie. In the show, they start with Steve. Nellie is in the show, but Steve is the one that kind of takes the reins initially. He is a writer, and he has taken his experiences with Hill House, his memories as a child, and then all the stories he's heard from his family, and novelized them. So he's put it into a book, and he's going to publish it.
Yeah.
It's his way of coping with that, and that's kind of what sets the stage for the show. So it's his... essentially taking reality and putting it into a box in order to share with the world. So he's created his own reality in order to deal with these truths and this traumatic past. Because from that past comes a mother that seems to have committed suicide, who also killed somebody else, which you find later.
Is this a spoiler section or what?
You don't know who she killed or how. So
I guess so.
But the fact is that the mother has left this imprint, and so they're not sure what their memories are, like what's real and what's not. They just know that mom was very disturbed, and everybody took it really hard, and they don't know what the full truth is because father's not telling them. So Steve has to interpret all that, and he's like, well, I don't know what all of this is true anyway, so I might as well just make up my own.
Yeah.
Puts it in a novel. And he becomes fairly famous for it, which all the other kids don't like, because it's all his versions of things, where they may have seen something different, or they may have not wanted that to be in the public eye. And so it creates this sorts of tension.
This rift. Yeah, see, that's the part where, because it bothered me a little bit the first time around, and it wasn't any better this time, because, like, one character in particular, Shirley, the eldest daughter, she's just like really will not let this go, and she just rails on him about it. She's just like, how could you? It's just like, any cent you earn from it is blood money. And I'm like, he's allowed to have his
Right.
interpretation of the events that happens to him.
Right.
And like, also he's like, I sent you the book to read. If there's anything you wanted to request a change about, you could have. Like, but this is a reoccurring concept too, or like a theme where the characters will go back and be like, "Oh, well, like there's a part in the book you got wrong," or like this or that. It's like there's nothing he got wrong. He got everything right as it pertains to his perception of things. That's the only, you know what I mean? Like there was no objective way to view the situation. There were just other interpretations, and I think you can see that with the way the show is laid out because each episode follows a different one of the siblings, and you get to see like parts of their view of what was going on at the house when they were kids and then what their world has become as adults.
Right.
And slowly you're kind of piecing together the larger story that's happening. But for the most part, you get a chapter on each of them. Then you get this like explosive episode. I think it's episode 6, where it's like the whole thing is in like 4 different takes. They're like 18-minute long shots, and it's just all of the characters like confronting each other and bouncing off of their different beliefs and all these new reveals coming out, and it's simultaneously happening with the backstory of the storm that took place while they were at the house. And so it's this really cool cinematic scene where it kind of pulls everybody together. And then it does like a chapter or 2 following like the mother's perspective, all in the past. And I think it does one on the dad's as well, something like that.
Right.
And then there's like the final chapter to close out the story. So it's not like the show has this hard lean on any particular character. It does start with Steve, appropriately enough, because he's a writer, so he's kind of like Shirley Jackson, the novelist, in a way, who writes out the story. But he himself is kind of, a victim to the ghosts that haunt him. He just is unwilling to accept that they are ghosts or that they are a problem in his life. Never underestimate the power of denial, basically.
Which is interesting because they purvey that too with the fact that he's a novelist that is now traveling the country, hearing other people's ghost stories, and then putting himself in those situations in order to disprove them.
Yeah.
So he like goes in with this preconceived notion that it's not real, and then finds an explanation as to why it isn't.
Yes.
And he does that. They show it specifically with a character who's gone through this traumatic event, loses her husband, and then sees his body on the ceiling, and then proceeds to sleep in the room where she saw him, and then finds all these series of events that creates an explanation in his head. The reach, because like even when he's putting it down, I'm like, I mean, I get it. Like a mind that has been traumatized like that will create realities. Because she asks a question, because he's like, yeah, it's all in your mind, and she's like, why would I want to see my Carl like that?
Yeah.
He's like, because it's better than not seeing him at all.
Right.
Which I thought was another interesting take on ghosts is that, yeah, there might be this horrifying idea, this concept that, instills so much fear because it's like the unknown type of thing, right? Because you can insert your own self into that. It's like, will that happen to me? But also, is that what has happened to my family member? But also, what is this? How much of that? It seems so malicious usually. But it is true. Like, it's better to have that little bit of something that you love that you lost than to not at all.
Yeah.
I was like, it was a good encapsulation before they launched the rest of the show. So that's Steve. He had encapsulated that and put it into a book, and now people are asking for another book about where they all are now. But the show is about where they all are now, so we get to experience that.
Yeah, so he uses that meta thing, so he can kind of be the storyteller for us in a way.
Right.
Which gives it kind of that classical feel a little bit.
Yeah, which my assumption is that he's named Steve after Stephen King, because Shirley, I'm assuming, is named after Shirley Jackson.
Yeah,
but that's
makes
a little
sense.
bit of reach. I don't know if it's King or not.
Hmm.
He just is another horror writer, like a modern one as compared to.
Who was inspired by Jackson, to be fair.
Sure. So,
Yeah.
whatever. Because those are the two that are not in the book at all. There's no Steve and Shirley.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to go on, Steve?
Not without spoilers.
Okay. Should we just say, all right, go into spoilers now? We've been 20 minutes in, so.
Yeah, I guess we should. But yeah, when I did the breakdown maybe kind of fast, but just to reiterate, this is a phenomenal show. You should definitely watch it. Just it's emotionally very, very heavy.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. All right, let's jump into spoilers. I love your hatred for that. Okay. Let's do this. So now that we are completely free to say what we wish.
It's like a different conversation
it's
now.
Different. This show's terrible. Don't watch it. Yeah, so I went into this trying to read the book, as I've been trying to do more so lately, and actually get the source material for this stuff.
I know I should be doing the same, but sorry.
Not a requirement.
Been busy.
Good book, by the way. I would recommend it as well. The show, I think, is more accessible, obviously, but it carries a lot more weight because it's trying to do more. To be fair to Shirley Jackson, she obviously does not have the benefit of all these years of other source material and a lot more haunted house stories. So for what Mike Flanagan was doing, I really appreciate what he did.
Yeah.
I really love the nods and the respect that he paid to Shirley Jackson, but also the way he did it was such a phenomenal show. I'd say there's 3 contenders. There's Stranger Things, Last Kingdom, and this show that are the best of Netflix. But I would hands down put
I'd probably agree with that.
Somewhere near the top for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into Shirley next, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know, so you don't like this character very much, do you?
So cold. It's just like as soon as something is not the way she likes it, it's just wall up. Like no one gets to say anything else. Nobody gets to do anything else like that. You do not get past this wall. Like what you were saying Steve sends out his novel, his manuscript. All of his siblings. He's like, you can all read it. You can all let me know what you want to change in there. You can let me know if I got something wrong.
Right.
And Shirley just straight stabs him in the heart for it. And it's just like, this is garbage. If you take that money, it's blood money. And this is all lies. This is how you see it. And it's wrong. He's like, okay, well, I sent it out to you so that we could have this conversation. And instead of like taking that graciously, it's just she just punches him in the jaw for it. And I'm like, dude,
yeah,
take this as like all of you are dealing with this a different way. Like at least he can actually like capitalize on this somehow. Like maybe it's wrong to exploit your family that way, but he even like I would even say he maybe fictionalized it a little bit in order to buffer the real life events or the real people that are involved. That's what
I thought. I thought he made it because it is a fictional story as he describes it. So I'm like, okay, so he did that in part to protect the family, but that's just also because that's how he sees it. Is like, okay, well, the horror stuff,
the whole thing is
or whatever.
Fictional anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't help you there. It's weird how obsessively mad she is about this.
Well, it's not even obsessively mad. It's that no one gets to say otherwise. There's another scene that she has an issue with her sister, and instead of allowing a conversation to be had, she just relies on what her perception of reality is to dictate her feelings. Mm-hmm. And no one is allowed to say any different, ever, at any point. It's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to live in this reality forever and just like harbor this anger and hatred? Or are you going to actually, like, at some point, you're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
To ignore that is just to like completely obliterate reality, which I guess is the point of her character. I get that.
Yeah.
She just is an ice wall. And I was like, just dude.
So everything you're saying is true. She was my least favorite character the first time I watched it, but I liked her a lot more in this time around because I think she came across as just very real to me, as like a very real person. Because, basically the thing that's happening, which I don't think the characters are aware of much, is that each sibling is coping with what happened as a child, where they had to be rushed out of the house and they left mom behind and their dad was in a panic, and then he drops them off at a motel. Then he leaves, goes back to the house to get mom. But then when he comes back, he's covered in blood and what happened. And then we never saw mom again. And then the tabloid said she was crazy. And so, it's kind of this, it's like, they're little kids. They need an explanation, something a little better than that. So, Steve's explanation was like, well, she was just insane. That's it. And so
mentally ill. Ended up committing suicide, so she's selfish and she abandoned us, and that's about it.
Yeah, so it's just, there's no reason to be any more upset about it. It just is what it is, and, that's the rationalism speaking, right? And then you have other siblings like Luke, who's like just shooting up, taking drugs, because he's like, oh, I just have to get out of this world. So he just needs raw escapism.
Yeah.
That's the only way to deal with it. He can't confront it. Just go somewhere else. And then... so with Shirley, hers is, I think, just kind of a different interpretation. So like when she's little, she she's taking a bunch of photos around the house, and then she ends up snapping a photo, and it kind of freaks her out. But then what she discovers is that there's this kitten litter.
Well, there's a face behind a wasp nest.
Wasp nest, yeah.
So it looks like there's a face, and that's what freaks her out. And then upon further discovery, she finds that there's also a box of kittens beneath.
Yeah. So these two things are both important because, for one, the kittens are something that she wants to take care of because, what little kid isn't going to want to take care of some kittens? But, her parents are kind of concerned because they're like, well, like, where's the mom? And they're probably not going to make it, like, so on and so forth. So Shirley takes it upon herself. They relent, and she tries to care for them. And then slowly, one by one, they start to die. And this is really frustrating for her because she's like, I'm doing everything I can to save them, and it's not working. And it's at once a symbol for the entire family because now that their mom has died, the rest of them are being picked off slowly, like they can't survive without her. So that's kind of like a metaphor for what's happening to the kids now in adult life as slowly each of them are being targeted by these ghosts. But then also, too, it's sort of reminiscent of like, I can't control this and I just need to control this situation, right? And so what happens is when there's the funeral for her mother, she's really nervous and she doesn't want to go up to the open casket and see her mom. She's just totally mortified. But the mortician just takes her hand and is like, it's okay, it's fine. And he just kind of takes her hand, walks her right up there and kind of makes her see it. And then when she does, she's like, wow, she looks just like she looks great. She looks so like just at peace and relaxed. And he's like, yeah, that's what my job is to be, to make her look her best or something. And to her, she takes this as a kid as like, this is a way to...
She initially says, you fixed her.
Oh, fixed her, yes.
You fixed her. And he's like, yeah, that's my job. And that's a line borrowed from her dad who basically says, I can fix this. Whatever it is that he's faced with, he can fix something.
Yes, exactly. So she inherits that trait from her father of like, well, you just have to get in and fix the problem when it presents itself. And so then she herself becomes a mortician. And I think it's no coincidence that she's using a camera as a hobby as a kid, which is all about, the visual of what you see. And then she's scared by the mask that had some dead thing around it. And so then she like takes the inverse of that, where suddenly she takes something that is dead, but makes it have a mask of beauty on top. Right.
Interesting.
And so like just thematically, it's very interesting to see that all come about. But yeah, I mean, she's a stone cold. She's a biatch, pretty much, about the whole thing. But, she's still an interesting character. I like what she brings to it because she is like the most like stable family member. And she's not the oldest, but she's one of the oldest.
She's the second in line.
Yeah, second in line.
She uses it against Steve because she thinks it's his responsibility, but he always shirks it, so it always lands on her shoulders.
Yeah, because he's an aloof writer as opposed to being as
a responsible oldest.
Engaged as he should. Because he's the rational mind speaking. But that's the thing is they're both rational. She's just like, oh, well, the rationale is when somebody dies, make them look nice. That's how you fix it. That's all you can hope for. Right. So that's the limit. That's the cap. It doesn't get any better than that. So anything else is just, you being greedy.
They both lack a bit of nuance, but I think in essence, they both create their own reality, right? It's like, she looks good, but she's dead. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She's dead. She's gone. There's nothing left of that person. Whereas Steve is like, he's creating a reality as to like, well, this isn't what that person was.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it doesn't matter. This is how I interpret it. This is how I see it. And so that's what's real. And so there's the two different ways of looking at it for sure, but Shirley thinks that she's the one constantly heading into the storm. But in reality, when the storm like starts to bite her personally, then she's like walled up. Like, nope, I'm not going to take that reality. I just want the one that I want.
Yeah.
And so it's like the dead people that she embalms, it's interesting because they don't have a say. She just like, she does her best to make them look their best, but it's all in her control. They don't fight back or like do anything about it. It's just like they're going to look how she makes them look. But when it's another person on the other line that's living and breathing and has another opinion, and she can't assert her will over that without them fighting back, then she's upset. And it's like, well, no, I put in my will and then that should be it. So it's an interesting look of like how she's so frustrated all the time when it comes to another person, especially someone so close as a family member.
Yeah, that's fair. Would you like to talk about somebody else?
But I agree. She does provide a very real look into like how that dynamic would work and what type of person this would create.
Yeah, I mean, there's no counter because that's what she does too. So I'm just like, this is also a true thing about her.
Well, okay, let's just jump into Theo then, since
go for it.
It connects, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Theo, in the book as well, they claim that she has some kind of telekinetic ability. They don't really expound on it, at least not from what I caught. I may have missed it, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's really the doctor is mentioned. He's like, yeah, she's claimed to have some kind of ability. And then in the show, they actually give her one, which is interesting, to be fair. Like, I liked what they had. They just didn't do a whole lot with it. They did one thing that I thought was really impactful, in my opinion, with it. And that was so she is able to sense things from touch.
Yeah, so she touches an object and then she knows like things about it or like who it belonged to or stuff like that. Or if she touches a person, she's basically like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
Oh my gosh.
Or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Unbreakable? Yeah. So like it's like he touches someone and then he knows whether or not they're like a criminal or something.
Right.
And
just what criminal acts they've done. Nothing else.
Yeah, nothing else.
There's nothing else important to him. He's just like, I don't know, has that person hit an old person, or like is that No, he's a good guy. He's done okay. It's
But that's basically her power.
Right. It's almost like sensing echoes of the past, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really show what she sees. It just kind of gives you a little like sound, like that ominous rumbling whenever she touches something, and then she can tell if there's something, a secret associated, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she'll find, like she found a basement because she knew where the trapdoor was, because she can kind of sense that was the area. There's also like a box of wine that she found, and she's like, it's old, or it looks fancy, is what she says. And he finds out that it's this really expensive old bottle of wine or whatever. So like there's things that she'll just kind of sense about an object.
Yeah.
But then when she touches people, she can tell certain things about them. So she's a child's therapist, I believe. Yeah. Therapist. And she touches the kid, and she mentions later, this kid has gone through some seriously traumatic events, but she has learned how to put up so many walls that she creates her own reality. So much so that even when Theo touches her, does not discern what the reality is. She knows something bad's going on, but she can't tell what it is until she investigates further.
Yeah.
She has to go and find the other people involved to understand the truth. She's like, yeah, so this person has built very effective walls to where even my ability could not breach them.
Mm-hmm.
But with other people, she's able to touch them and determine things. So she goes in and touches Nellie's body after she's killed herself and pulls in, I guess, the void that was within Nellie. So Nellie is dealing with depression and suicidal ideation that is embodied differently. We'll get into it. But that like enters her. And then she is forced to deal with what Nellie was dealing with, which is just this nothingness. She can't feel anything. She can't sense anything. Like there's no life in life. There's just this darkness.
This absolute despair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads eventually to her looking for anything to pull her back into some kind of anything, some brightness, some candle in the dark. And that thing happens to be Shirley's husband. So,
which Shirley has a very
of course,
measured response to.
Very measured. Silence. Well, it's interesting, though, because that provides the door in order for them to have a moment where they both collapse their walls. So, like, I liked what it was doing.
Yeah.
But the power goes out. They're both in a room. Theo makes a move, and she's like, I was so drunk and so devoid of anything that I didn't even see your husband. Like, he wasn't a person. He was just this little spark. And I went for the spark.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting way of putting that, because I was like, I guess you could see this as an excuse for like why you would enter an affair, as well as like you're just going for this spark, this thing that makes you feel alive or whatever.
Oh.
But on some other level, like because of all the supernatural things in the show, it adds this extra layer that gives that a little bit more weight. So she goes for it, and she's like, all the feeling flooded back in. But in the moment, as she's reaching for him and he's like pulling away, Shirley comes in, and it looks like they're in a compromised position.
Yeah.
And so she, of course, just reacts immediately to it. It's like, well, this is reality now, so I'm not going to face it. I'm just going to run away.
I love how your discussion of Theo took us back to heating on Shirley second round.
Well, it was the connection, so I was making the connect. Anyway, I didn't like Shirley. She's just so frustrating.
So to be fair, that moment too, like, I kind of took that more like I get what you're saying, the like, not the justification, but like the understanding of why an affair happens sometimes.
Sure.
But I kind of took it more as just like, it's just not every connection with someone has to be interpreted in the way that everybody thinks it has to be.
That's fair.
You know? And so she has like a nice moment with him, let's say, just like a conversation or whatever, and that really means something to her.
Sure.
And then they go about their separate ways and no one's the wiser. That would not be an affair and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Sure.
But like it could be a very powerful moment. So like, you know, the way we perceive things happening to us and what kind of energy we are able and willing and wanting to bring into that environment says like there's a myriad of different ways that can go. So it's kind of like, it's too hard to say like, well, you should always feel this way about this event and that way about that event.
Sure.
And every person has to have those reactions to those events exactly so. Like you can never get things down. There's always has to be some broader range of what you're going to feel or respond to as these things happen to you in your life based on where you're at in life and what you've already gone through and who you are. And so because there's all those layers, like you were talking about with the ghosts, then it's like, it just makes it so much more messy. So this was like a small exchange between the two of them. Yeah. And he didn't really know what was going on or what his involvement was, but you know, that can happen to us every day. I mean, you never know who you're leaving a really big impact on necessarily.
That's fair.
So yeah, it's like, but I'm kind of abstracting the scene a little bit, but it kind of feels like a metaphor.
But that's what the show's doing in the first place, is that everybody's kind of inserting their own perception as reality, regardless of what is reality.
Yeah.
So like Shirley did that with that situation, but so did Theo. The poor guy was just kind of in the middle of all that, so he just got the brunt end of both.
He seemed to have just a kind of like, he just saw it for what it was.
Right. He's like, look, I said no, but I'm in trouble now, so I don't know what to do. Because he tries to open the door a couple times. It's like, hey, we need to talk about this. And Shirley's just like, no, we don't. Because my perceived reality is what's real. And so, you know.
But this, of course, is a projection of hers.
Right.
Because she is, in fact, the one who's had an affair.
Right.
As it's revealed later. And it was like a one-time thing. And it was with someone who had just as much to lose as she did. So she figured, all right, it's never going to continue. It's never going to come back to haunt me. And funnily enough, it does come back to haunt her because it's the very thing that keeps her so walled up, is because now she has a secret that she has to protect against the people that she loves.
Which is another view of ghosts as it pertains to the haunting of the individual people, is she has now inserted a reality that is her own onto someone else that doesn't deserve it.
Right.
And so it's something that does haunt her that she doesn't want to acknowledge.
Yeah.
But eventually has to come to face with that because of, I guess, the fear of what it would be like if she was on the receiving end of that. Because she gets a taste of it and then realizes that she was wrong, but that she had done that already to him.
Yeah.
And so it was something that they had to face together. Because it's like, well, regardless if he wanted to be, he's in the midst of it now. It's like, look, you're going to get the brunt end regardless. So, you know, how are you going to take that? So it was that was a touching scene, as difficult as it was. I couldn't imagine being in that situation, thank God.
What scene is this?
When Shirley actually finally does resolve that with her husband.
Oh, she decides to tell him about the affair. Yeah, so we don't get to see that whole conversation, which is probably for the best. Because, and I say that's for the best, not because it would be hairy. I just mean it's for the best because the point of the scene is that this is at the very end of the story when she's finally willing to enter a process of healing.
Right.
And the step to do that is you have to confront things as they happened and admit
actually.
And admit your fault in that. And you have to put your trust in other people. It is interesting because it's just a mistake that she made.
Yeah.
And there's not like a comparison with Steve, right? Because all the characters are going through this similar process at the end where they're, having to face the music. And Steve's whole story is that he gets a vasectomy because he doesn't want to have kids because he thinks that it's in his family's genetics. This, like, people, they go insane. He's just like, mom was crazy and she killed herself. Dad's a wacko.
Nellie killed herself.
Nellie killed herself. So yeah, it's like everybody's just crazy. And sometimes I think I see weird things, so I'm just gonna cut off, all of that options. That's never gonna happen. So then he gets involved with this woman, and he knows she wants kids, and then he marries her, and then they're going for a couple of years trying to have kids, and they can't, and she's just like, I don't understand it. And he's sitting there the whole time with the full knowledge of why this is happening and says nothing. So that was really low.
Yeah.
And like, I get, the perception of just not really taking like seriously the magnitude of the implication of what you've done. But it is, at the end of the day, still ultimately different because it's a betrayal of her trust, but it's not a betrayal of the relationship, I guess, if that makes sense.
Because he did it beforehand, but he
did it beforehand, yeah. And so, and like the reason too is like, because the reason he does it is because he doesn't like believe like he doesn't have enough like worth or confidence in himself. Basically, he's just like, I have tainted blood. You don't want that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what I do. That's going to be that way regardless.
Right. Yeah. His rationalism speaks again and says like, well, if it's in your genetics, there's no way around it. There's nothing you can do. You can stop it. That's all you can do. You can get off the line. And, with Shirley's, though, it's like the question has to be addressed of like, well, if you took this action, what was I doing wrong? Like, I can imagine her husband saying that, just being like, well, like, what would possess you to do that if I was doing everything right? And that may not be a fair question, but it's a question he's going to want to ask. Whereas like in the other, with Steve's wife, like it had nothing to do with her. Everything had already been decided long before that. And it was just an unresolved trauma of his.
Yeah.
And I don't know that she could really be held responsible.
But he involved her in that without the knowledge.
He did.
So like he just kind of dragged her under.
No, yeah, what he does is totally wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying that like, I don't think she would have the question, well, what did I do to make you get a vasectomy? Because she didn't do that. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and so she doesn't have that same, like, but I need to address, like, how you feel about me.
I mean, she would ask, like, what is it about me that made you not trust me enough to tell me that? If you knew that I wanted kids. He was just interested in, like, getting the relationship with her regardless of, because that would have pushed her away. So that would have been a sure thing of, well, not going to want to be with me. So he just inserted his own reality onto her. Yeah. Or his own fears, I suppose, onto her.
Right.
And that's what drove them apart in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, regardless, like, she's going to know at some point. I'm like, she's going to ask you to get tested or whatever.
Right,
and, like, they're going to figure it out. Like, you can only go so long with her being like, this really isn't going to work. What's something's wrong. It's like, well, it's not me. So,
I wonder who it could be.
Unless you're like paying off the doctor to be like, hey, just let her know I'm shooting blanks. Like, I don't know. Don't tell her I did it. Just say I'm not able to do it. I don't know. I don't know how you'd resolve that problem. It just seems like at some point someone's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, let's check your medical history. Please don't.
Well, they totally would. But I also feel like there's like certain things get shared at certain times in a relationship.
Sure.
And again, not excusing him because what he did was super wrong. Yeah. Like he should never have married her.
Start with that one.
Without her knowing this. He needed to be like, I can't marry you yet because there's some things I have to share first.
Sure.
And I'm not ready to share them yet.
That's fair.
And then now it becomes like, okay, there's a thing I don't know, but it's important that I know before we take another step in our relationship.
Sure.
That would have been the fair thing to do, but he wasn't able to do that. So that's the error. But that error is just, it's still a different kind of error. It involves her in a different way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump back to Theo.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Theo. We gave you the shaft.
But I think that between those two, like, those are things that embody the themes of the show anyway.
They do.
I'm glad we fleshed them out. Okay, so for Theo, the one with the abilities.
Yeah, the X-Men, I call her.
the-
Because she's like an X-Men, basically. She's like Rogue or
pretty
something.
much, yeah.
Like, she even has to wear gloves. Like, it's that bad.
Yeah, because you can't touch anything without knowing something. It does provide that, so I liked that. Because that scene was also super impactful when she touches Nell. And she kind of just screams,
Yeah.
and you don't know what she's seen until way later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you do know that she's kind of spiraling into this self-destructive behavior. So she's like drinking copiously, pushing everybody away, kind of just really abrasive. So you're like, man, something went on there. I wonder what it was.
Oh, that's interesting. I never got that. I thought that was just Theo being Theo.
It just there is an element of that, but it seems to be extra. So after that happens, you're like, man, I really want to know what it was that affected her that way. Because it also, like, there's layers to it. You know, Eleanor or Nellie seems like this really innocent person and is just reaching out for help somewhere, and nobody helps her. And then she goes and dies alone. And then she's in the embalming room, and Shirley's the one to, like, do all of the process. So she, like, opens her up and takes out the organs, drains her blood, and then balms her and stuff. I'm like, I cannot imagine what that would be like to do to your own sister, which just kind of shows the coldness of Shirley. I don't know how I've gotten back to Shirley at this point, but after all that,
how could you?
I know it's like, man, I really got a bone there. But Theo sneaks in there to this nice looking version of Nellie, laying peacefully on this stone table or this steel table, touches her and screams like it's the most horrifying thing that she's ever seen. I'm like, kids, I'm already pretty disturbed that this poor character died alone in this way, and all these other things that have led her to being on this table, and now, like, she's even still reaching out from death to terrify Theo. It's like, what is happening here? Like, this is, ugh. So, like, it just kind of leaves you with your own imagination for a while. So it's almost like the show reaching out to the audience to give you some extra. I was like, that was really effective. That was a interesting thing. Like, gave you your own ghosts, because it gives you a relationship with these people, and then it lets your imagination wander. So I liked that. So Theo was kind of a way of connecting that with us. So she was the mode of exposition for one. She was the kind of, I don't know, the breach, because she was the one that could touch things and, like, explain what they were. So she was, I don't know, the way of, like, the bridge between the world and the audience, in my opinion, because of what she could offer us. But then, she was the one that gets shut down, and then eventually is the one that kind of breaks the dam, I suppose. Because she's the one that kind of, like, breaks down and explains all this stuff. And she's the one that cracks the ice for Shirley, and then that eventually leads to Steve and all this other stuff. So she's kind of the one that breaks the dam, I guess.
I see.
So she has an impact on the story as well, but she's the one that doesn't let it. She keeps everybody at arm's length. So she almost uses everybody, but only to an extent. As soon as somebody starts to reach into her, she's like, kicks them out.
Yeah.
It's not quite as ice cold as Shirley necessarily, but everyone feels like they're taken advantage of by Theo.
But, well, they're kind of used to it because, I mean, Theo...
It's always been that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say she's a Leo. Like, that is her personality type completely.
Okay.
Whereas, like, Shirley is a Taurus.
We're inserting astrology into this. Okay.
Well, there's just clear parallels because...
Okay.
Like...
Do you think these are impetuses for his character writing?
I don't know. You probably could. I mean, you could do that with, like, any character and anything.
Sure.
But I just... Yeah, I could... There's a very clear archetype, right? And she's just kind of this... I don't know. She's like a weird mixture of things. And it's like the whole fact that she's an X-Men is the part that I have trouble with. Because if not for that, then it would just make a lot more sense. She could just be this person who felt like, as a kid, they didn't really quite connect with the rest of their family. They just felt that they were a little bit different. And it's like revealed that she's gay in this. She's a lesbian. So, like, if that's the case, then, she would probably feel
outcast.
growing up as an outcast in some ways because she's deviating so much from what the life path of the rest of, her parents and her siblings are doing. So, you compound all of that together, and she's kind of rough around the edges, and but it's more like she just isn't willing to put up with people's crap. See, that's the difference, because like Shirley is like, well, you're going to see it my way, and that's the only way that we're going to look at this.
Sure.
It's very controlling. But Theo is just like, you do what you want, I don't care, but like I'm doing it this way. And she wants her own agency to be.
Yeah, it's the unstoppable force and immovable object kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So she has no problems taking the blood money from the book and getting her PhD.
Because in her mind, it's like, well, I can use this. It's gonna happen. He's gonna release the book, so I might as well benefit from it and use it for good.
Yeah, there's a more pragmatic approach instead of some weird arbitrary honor that Shirley's trying to protect. And so she uses that, and then she takes a weird career path where it's like she's helping like little kids. She doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would want to be around little kids very much, but I assume that she is still kind of haunted from her past, and so this is her way of like reconciling it, is like reaching back to younger versions of herself and trying to run interference for them to like help them cope with the things that they have to go through, right?
Right. Which also is embodied by that instance that she has with the child, is that she finds out that those traumatic events are happening and that the child creates a reality that is horrifying, that she has created this monster, essentially. But the monster stems from something real happening that she has created into something not real. So she calls it Mr. Smiley that comes, visits her or whatever, and finds out that this other event. And she has seen a pattern on the ceiling that looks somewhat like a smiley face, and so it comes to life essentially as a traumatic event, because that is more palatable to her than the actual event, than reality.
Yeah.
So it's another view into ghosts, I suppose, or monsters or whatever, so the things that haunt us. And it was another way of that, putting into the show. So Theo was the one that provided that, because she was able to understand all that stuff by following the footsteps and like the, I guess, psychic pathway of tracking that down. So it provided some avenues, but you're right, it did kind of stand out because no one else had any of this. She's the only one with the ability, except for the mom, I guess. She has something like that. She's like, I see colors sometimes and I have these like headaches, and I think that they come from this ability, and I've had it forever. And so that's her connection with Theo.
Oh yeah.
So like there's that, but it's also shown that the house takes that away from her, and that being taken away from her is what leads her into despair, and then, her eventual demise.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's a very layered show, and I'm sure there's more meaning in there that I'm pulling out. But it's difficult to parse through, especially when you have all this other stuff that's really in depth and really heavy. Then you have this element in there of this Theo being able to do these things that it's like, I don't know how to place this necessarily properly. But it's not that it doesn't fully fit. I mean, there's things that it can do that fit within the narrative. It's just, it's so isolated. And maybe that's the point, is that it's supposed to just isolate her. It makes her feel, it's like the Frozen thing. It's like, well, I can blow ice out of my fingers, so I'm so alone.
Okay, but that, for one, that was a stupid power. That wasn't thematic with the story at all. Whereas this is at least a thematically relevant power.
Right, exactly.
But also, too, it's not like it's just odd. Like, it's odd because it starts to break down what are the rules of this world?
Sure.
Because they're using the ghosts as these symbols of, these internal traumas and pains and memories and things of the characters. It gets projected out of them almost, and then it comes back and haunts them. But with Theo, she just breaks all the rules because she can, like, just do something that nobody else can. And I wonder if perhaps their thinking there was that, like, well, everybody has gifts, like Steve's a gifted writer, and Shirley is a gifted cold person because she can disembowel someone and not feel anything.
Well, she is the closest. she can fix people. So she took after her dad. But yes, also that she is cold as ice.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe, and like Luke is incredibly loyal and this kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's what they're trying to do. But it's just like some of those are like,
why does that
different
one get
traits.
to be supernatural and the other ones are
relatively
like normal gifts?
The one thing I could say, I guess another thing we could try is that, like, Shirley, I said, had to do with sight. Sight was very important to her.
Sure.
Because of, like, the camera and
hers is
the
touch.
preparation. Hers is touch. So it's like a different sense. And so that was just their interpretation of another sense. But then it, like, stops at those two. Because I'm like, well, what's Steve's? Is it smell?
Yeah.
Like, or would, I guess that'd be Luke. Like, he would smell the drugs or something. But he doesn't really talk about that.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, it's just his vice. So.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So it's like they don't have all the five senses, so it's not like the sixth sense. Another Shyamalan reference for you. Instead, it's the two senses, and one of them's supercharged. The other one's just there. The rest, screw it.
You guys don't deserve this. The outcast siblings. Yeah, it's hard to square. It fits in the show well enough, but upon reflection, it's difficult to understand it appropriately with all the other moving pieces.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about Theo or the characters in general? There's
No.
obviously more characters in the show, but we wanted to kind of relegate it down to ones that would synopsize the show better than the others.
Yeah.
And then leave the rest up in case you wanted to watch it still.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just move on and talk about our favorites then, because we haven't really talked about them yet.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about your favorite and why is your favorite?
I think I'd have to go with Luke. I mean, initially it was probably Theo the first time around because I liked her characterization of like the no nonsense thing, but I like how fiercely loyal Luke is, and he felt, I don't know, he brought such a reality to that, like how someone would just want a pure escapism, but eventually how destructive that can be.
Yeah,
and drugs is a difficult topic in general, but I don't know how realistic he brought that in, but then how much of a vice that was that he was willing to overcome, even though the reality of that was difficult. Like, the climbing the mountain of, rehabilitation is incredibly difficult on average, but knowing that the top of that mountain comes with your past, which is this horrific thing already.
Yeah.
Especially one where you're a twin and that twin is now no longer at the top of the mountain waiting for you. She's dead. And he has some sense of that.
I do like how they depict that, by the way, because he doesn't know what's happened to her because he's in rehab.
Yeah.
And then he like breaks out and he's just freezing cold. And he's like going through withdrawals, but he hasn't used. And he's describing it to people, and they don't really address what he's feeling, but it's the fact that his twin has died is why he's so cold, because her corpse is now getting cold.
Yeah.
And so he's feeling that too.
Right.
Which I thought was a really cool way. I like how they didn't throw that in our face. They just have him describing it. And then it just clicks that like, it's like he is connected.
He's missing a part of himself. Yeah.
Yeah, missing a part of himself, exactly. But the thing is they do say that about twins. So it's not a magic power. He's not an X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a twin thing, as they say in the show. But I mean, there's a lot of phenomena that goes with twins. So
yeah, it's interesting phenomena where you just kind of sense or know things about your twin. Yeah.
Yeah, probably Luke. And I liked his portrayal of the character. I like the actor that plays him. I thought he did a phenomenal job. So probably Luke's.
So his accent didn't bother you?
No, because it was an actual accent. Bly Manor was not. Stupid Scottish one he was trying to put on was terrible. Like, go back to Braveheart, dude. Get out of here. Who was yours? Who was your favorite?
Well, actually, speaking of actors, I do have one redemption story, and that's the Elliot from E.T. plays the dad in this.
Yes.
And I like this performance of his the best.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's in all three of the shows. He's like one of the few who's in all three of them, Bly Manor, Usher, and this one. And he's great in this because he's a dad.
Straight-laced. Yeah. Plays it nice. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Who's
the role, man.
A dad who's trying his best, who can't really see things for the kind of deep darkness that exists within them. But to be fair, like he does try to like react to the situation. Like it gets to a boiling point and he's like, okay, I think you need to get away from the house a little while because his wife's going crazy.
Yeah.
And like, we're seeing the warning signs and it seems like it takes him a while, but like he does acknowledge it and he does go at some point, like it's difficult for him and he can't explain it, but he's like, maybe just go, let's just try that.
Right.
Right. And, take a break, go see your sister for a little while. And then, you come back afterwards. it doesn't work, but that's not because it's his fault. It's
Right.
just kind of too late at that point. But my favorite character probably have to be Nell, just because her storyline, despite being so short, is just like one of the most disturbing things ever. And it's like once you see it, you'll just never get it out of your head. It'll just like haunt you for life. But it is like such a ruthlessly accurate depiction of like a suicidal downward spiral.
Yeah.
Where you're just like your perception of reality is not measuring up with what's actually going on. There's a complete absence of time, and it's like time no longer exists for you. And that, I think, is the part that's really laces in the terror, because you can't tell when is it going to be over? When did it start? Like those are answers that help you get out of that headspace, because they kind of quantify you in reality, time and place, right? So like place, she knows where she's at for the most part, but like when just becomes nothing. And the fact that she's haunted by this bent neck lady as a kid, and then what that comes to represent as like a concept of infinity, was an excellent way to create like her own purgatory. So yeah, I don't know if I even want to get into it too much more, because it's like after that episode, then I have to take a break. I can't watch anymore because I'm just so like,
Yeah.
like beaten down.
Heavy.
I also think like the actress who plays her, I think I mentioned this before on the Bly Manor one.
Yeah,
She has
thing.
such this like it's just, she just like pulls, she just like rips the sympathy out of you, and you're like, I'm dying, like just stop.
Yeah, you'd
stop
see her and
dying.
Like, oh, and she's like, yeah, stick with me. Oh gosh, Flanagan, I think, saw her and was like, she's a very innocent, sweet-looking person. Let's make the worst things happen to her. Like, why?
Yeah, both of her stories just end in such tragedy, and it's like, why does that have to happen?
I just want to give her a hug.
Yeah, but I liked her story a lot, because it's like, it's sad. It's sad how she's like trying to get, she's the youngest child, and she's trying to get seen by her parents and her siblings, and it's like they just don't see her, or at least she doesn't think that they do, right?
And she feels abandoned by her twin because he runs off in a drug land.
Right.
Not much of him left.
Yeah, and like her whole storyline is she's like calling her siblings, trying to get them to respond, and they're just kind of caught up with life and not really paying attention to her. I mean, Steve makes an interesting observation, because he's like, well, we've had all these phases. I've seen it all. He's like, you had, what was it, like the Christian phase, and then you had like
the New Age phase, and the crystal phase. And,
yeah.
Goes through all the things that most of those people would do in order to get something out of life, to just reach for some kind of meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm really interested in this or that, and that's my answer to like life and death or whatever, or the meaning of life. And so she goes through all of that, and then it starts to become redundant for her family members. And so they're like, I'm tired of this. I don't know how to give you an answer. You have to give that answer for yourself. Which is kind of how
they treat Luke, because he's like, the clean phase, the drug phase, the clean phase, the drug phase, but it's all very destructive. It's constantly like needing something from them. And so they finally feel like, I'm drained, man. I got nothing left to give. So
yeah.
So it's not quite that destructive, but it's in the same type of vein, I suppose, where it's like, look, you're just on another kick. This is going to be over. Like, I've seen your pattern. Eventually, like, I'm not getting the real you. I'm just getting this version of you that's going to be gone soon.
Yeah.
And so it's not very authentic to her.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because arguably Nell's path was more destructive than Luke's, because
that's fair.
She's the one who does succumb to it and die, whereas he ends up surviving and making some kind of recovery.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's not to say it's just kind of, it's another one of those instances where the show takes something that ordinarily you would think, okay, there's only one way this can go.
Sure.
Kind of like Shirley telling her husband that she cheated on him. It's like, all right, well, there's only one way this scene is going to play out.
Yeah.
But then it seems like it's not going that way. And like, we don't get to see his reaction, but he seems to take what she says, like, I really need some help just to confess.
Sure.
Right? And so you're like, huh, okay. Like, so it's like understanding the needs of someone other than the one you would think you should have sympathy for.
Sure. I think it's a representation of love. It's like understanding that this is going to be hard for both of you, but it's something that needs to happen in order to come to some sort of resolution.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we've both got to step over this together, despite the fact that you don't know what's on the other side. I might have an idea of it, but I know it's just terrifying for me. Terrifying for you because you don't know what's there.
Yeah.
But I need you to step with me. That's all that I need. Is just walk with me over there. What happens next happens next.
Yeah.
So, interesting representation. But overall, I think that is kind of what the show is trying to do. How to deal with your past, how to deal with your ghosts, the things that haunt us. And then it embodies that in kind of a larger, I don't know, structure, I guess, for the house.
Mm-hmm.
So the house represents that, but also the characters represent it. So that's why they each have their own struggles, hauntings, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite ghost?
It's a very
because there's a lot in the house.
There's
a lot of ghosts.
There are a lot. Probably the grandma, just because like you don't see much of her. She has like 3 viewings or something. There's one with Luke where he's looking into this thing. It's like this old horn, and you can talk to other portions of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this tube that runs through,
mm-hmm.
and then the little trumpet end. So he's looking at that, and he sees her reflection come up in it.
Mm-hmm.
She's just it scares him, obviously. And then there's another one. It's with the mom, Olivia. So Olivia is looking at her kids sleeping, and there's this one ghost that's in like the flapper getup.
Yeah.
And she's like whispering all this stuff, and then at one point it turns back to Olivia, and the grandma's standing behind her, and then it turns back, and then the flapper's back, and I was like, "What happened there?" And then the last scene is when Olivia goes into the room. She sees the grandma, and then when she goes in, the grandma's laying in the bed.
Uh-huh.
She's like, "Who are you?" And she goes, "That other one's a liar." That's all she says. She just badmouths one of the other ghosts. and then you don't see her anymore.
Yep.
Probably that one. She was funny.
You had nothing else to add.
Nope. It's like I said my piece. Which one was yours?
I'd have to give it to the ghost with the top hat who's walking with his cane, but his feet just hover above the ground.
Oh yeah.
And he's just the one step of the cane is what they hear. Just because aesthetically, that's so interesting.
Yes.
Like he's just such a cool design for a ghost because he's not just like a person who's become a ghost. He's like taken on like a whole like era with him.
Sure. He's interesting to me too, just thematically. I'll do this really quickly because we're getting over an hour and 10 minutes. I know it's Halloween.
Special episode.
Special. He follows Luke, and the first instance that Luke sees him, he hears him in the hall, sees a glimpse, and shuts the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then he opens the door and comes in to look at the beds.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't see anybody in there, and Luke's hiding under the bed, and so he starts to leave the room. He comes back and puts his face under the bed, and then Luke's obviously just screaming. So he sees him face to face. But then as Luke goes on and he's just engaging in drugs and escapism, and he has this method that whenever he's dealing with something difficult, he counts to 7. That's the number of family members in his family. So he just counts to 7. So he just walks 7 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Or he has 7 items, whatever it is. But as the show goes on, as he's doing that, the ghost will follow him, but it's always backwards. So you never see the face of the ghost again. So it's just his back is turned Luke. And every time Luke turns around, he can just see the back of his head. I was like, what an interesting way to show, like, I guess this life is that he's too afraid to face that thing that he knows is real. And I'm assuming that that's some kind of message to drugs is what I was giving, is like,
maybe,
you're afraid to face the reality of what you need to do or face, your own demons is how I kind of took it, because it never turned around again, but it's constantly following him. It's right behind him everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like maybe it's an addict's journey to recovery, is that it's never something you're going to be free of, because he says that too. He's like, yeah, it's just every day is a new day. Like you could fail, but it's always going to be that thing you struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always that thing that's right behind you. But that doesn't mean that, you have to engage with it or like acknowledge it or whatever. But it was an interesting way, like, and I think it's supposed to be interpretive. This is just the way I'm taking it.
Yeah.
But ghosts in that way, I mean, that was what the show is trying to express, is that, we're all haunted by these things, and it includes all this nuance that other people might not perceive the same way. Same thing with all the characters, as we've tried to lay out as best we could in this episode. But yeah, he was cool. I liked his whole getup and shtick.
Yeah, isn't it a bowler hat? Actually, now that I'm
Yes.
thinking about it. Yeah, not top hat. Yeah, and then he's kind of like, I'm gonna say there's something else about him. Oh yes, I thought this was him, but then when we were discussing it, maybe I was wrong. But I thought he was the one who traps himself in one of the. He's like he basically he builds a brick wall, and traps himself like in like between two
One
walls.
does.
Yeah, as one does exactly. And then decides at some point that he doesn't want to stay trapped in there anymore, and he tries to claw his way out, and then he can't. And so there's this scratching sound that they can hear down in this basement or whatever. And there's like an explanation that one of the characters gives where, he was pursued by like fear and guilt, I think. And fear and guilt are sisters. And when he builds up the wall to shut them out, he finds that they are in that space with him there. Just enough room for that. So he traps himself with his own torture, basically.
Yeah. He went with him.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a terrifying. And then, like, when he dies, he like just grows taller, obscenely tall. And there's just such a cool element to that. Like, why would he change? Why would he morph?
Sure.
Everybody else just becomes a ghost, but then he actually like manifests. He's like like a Pokemon. He like evolves.
Huh. Yeah, that was a good one. Good choice.
So if you have this Pokemon, you trap it in a room with fear and guilt,
and
it
will just grow bigger and more powerful. And it'll live forever. Immortality in the afterlife.
Dress up as a Pokemon or an X-Men this Halloween. That's my takeaway.
What a takeaway for this show. Pokemon or X-Men? Well,
I'm done.
Did you have anything else to say about the show?
No, that was it.
I love that note we end on. That's what we end on. X-Men and Pokemon.
There's my Halloween costume recommendation. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.